we're going to be doing a PCR, we're going to be running a PCR on a gel, and then we're going to be gel purifying it so that we can isolate the exact band that we want. So I just did a PCR, and I have some gel loading buffer right here. I'm going to grab my P20, and I actually already loaded this up with the dye. So we'll just pretend that I'm going to do it one more time. So what I would do is I'm going to set this to 5. I have 50 microliter reactions. I would pull up 5, put it in there, and then eject, which I've already done. So I'm just going to ditch that. And I would lift it up, take a look at it, and you can see that that dye is just kind of sunk to the bottom. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go over to the gel, and I'm going to be using a P20 that's set to 20 microliters, and I'm going to pull up the liquid, but then I'm going to kind of swish it around. So I'm going to go up and down a little bit. That'll kind of homogenize the dye and PCR mixture so that it will be all mixed and it will run well in a gel. So I'm going to be running 4 samples. That means that I want to have at least 4 lanes, plus a lane for a ladder, and maybe a couple of buffer lanes. So I'm going to grab a gel out of our Tupperware here, and I'm going to count out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to leave a little bit of extra space because I never cut these correctly. So there we go. I'm going to put the rest back into the Tupperware, close that all up. You want to be sure to close your gel Tupperwares up, otherwise the buffer kind of gets messed up as liquid evaporates. I'm going to grab a gel box, move it over here. And this, the running buffer in this gel box is evaporated, so the liquid level has dropped. That's because when you're running, it'll heat up and stuff just evaporates. We want to top it off with some DI water, so house DI water. You don't want to put more buffer in there just because that will throw off the osmolarity, which will throw off how your gel runs, it'll usually just heat up even more, which causes more evaporation, which will, get more and more salty. So there's our gel. Here's our little wedge that's going to hold it in place. Now we need some wires, more wires. So black goes to black, black goes to black, and red goes to red, red goes to red. And you always want to remember, whenever you're running a gel, you want to run towards red. So DNA is negatively charged, so it'll run towards the positive charge, and red is positive. So I just remember black is negative, red is positive, and DNA is negative, so it's going to run towards that red. So now we're ready to load. I'm going to grab my sample, which I put right here. And now I'm having the horrid realization that I actually have 50 microliters, and I can only fit about 20 microliters into these gels. So I'm going to cut another gel, actually. So if I want to run about 40 microliters total, maybe 50. We'll see if I can fit it. So I actually need 8 wells plus a ladder and a couple of buffers. So I'm going to count out 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12. So I'm actually going to cut out 12. Getting a little bit less than frugal here with our gels. Close everything up. Alright, and now we're going to load them up. Get that P20, set it to 20. And so you can see here that our samples are not well mixed, so I'm going to kind of mix them up using my P20, so now they're all nice and mixed. Pull out that 20 and put it in our first well. And pull up the next 20, put in the well right next door to it. And then I'm going to pull out the last 5 and just kind of sprinkle it on top. And then, since I'm actually going to be preparing these samples, I have to switch tips between each sample, and then I'm just going to kind of repeat that for the next 4. So 1, 2, and just get that last little bit of DNA. Sometimes it's not worth it to get that last little bit of DNA because you may contaminate the neighboring wells. So last couple here, mix them up, pull up that 20, fill your well. 1, 2, I'm just gonna ignore the last couple microliters. So last one here, mix that up. 1 and 2. And now all we got to do is load our ladder, which is right here. So we want to go for about 7 microliters. I can kind of do it by eye. That's about 7. There's a little ring at the 10 microliter area, so if you just go a couple millimeters below that, you're good to go. And then when I'm loading my ladder, I like to kind of mix it into the well a little bit. It makes it run a little bit better. And we're good to go. So we're going to run this at 180 for 12 minutes. So I'm just going to bump that up to 12. Actually, we'll just do good luck, 13, and run. So you'll see that bubbles come from each of those electrodes. That means it's running. I'm going to check our voltage, check our amps, and then go back to time so we know where we stand. So we'll be back in a couple of minutes, and we'll cut everything out, melt it down, prep it, and then we'll be good.